Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive. Today we are going to be talking about something that's probably in your bathroom right now.
Oh, yeah,
Cosmetics and personal care products.
definitely.
The stuff we use every day to look and feel our best. But what if some of those products are hiding some pretty scary secrets?
Interesting.
So get ready to become a more informed consumer, because today we're diving deep into the world of cosmetics and uncovering some potential dangers lurking right in our bathroom cabinets.
That sounds a little scary.
It is a little bit scary, and to help us unpack all of this, we have an expert in the field joining us today. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. So we were talking about bathroom cabinets and all this stuff that we use every day. And to get us started, did you know that the average person uses around 9 different personal care products every single day?
Wow. Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot of lotions and potions and everything
It's
else.
a lot of exposure, too.
Right. Yeah. A lot of exposure. And think about that. The average person uses 9 different products every day. And most of us don't even think twice about what's in those products.
Yeah, it's true. We just kind of trust that they're safe.
Right. That they're safe.
Yeah.
But as we're about to find out, that's not always the case.
Definitely not.
So let's jump right into it. What are some of the dangers that we should be aware of when it comes to cosmetics and personal care products?
Hmm.
What does the research tell us?
Well, one of the biggest concerns is the presence of endocrine disruptors. These are chemicals that can mimic or block hormones in our bodies, and that can lead to a whole host of problems. Reproductive issues, developmental problems in children, and increased risk of certain cancers.
So these are not just like, mild irritations or anything. These are serious health concerns that we're talking about.
Absolutely, they can have a really significant impact on our health.
So can you give us some specific examples of these endocrine disruptors? Like, what are some of the things we should be looking out for on product labels?
Yeah, absolutely. Some common culprits include phthalates, which are often found in fragrances and nail polish. And then there's bisphenols, which you might find in plastics and resins.
Okay, so phthalates and bisphenols, those are two to keep in mind. And how much of these chemicals are actually in our products? Do we know?
Well, that's the thing. A lot of times we don't really know for sure. There was a study that found that 85% of cosmetics don't undergo thorough testing for their potential to cause cancer.
So we're essentially in the dark about the long-term effects of a lot of these ingredients.
Yeah, that's a pretty big concern.
Okay, well, this is already starting to sound a little unsettling. But endocrine disruptors are just the tip of the iceberg, right? What else should we be concerned about?
Right. So in addition to endocrine disruptors, we also need to be aware of carcinogens, which are substances that can actually damage our DNA and increase the risk of cancer.
Okay, so now I'm really starting to get a little nervous about what's in my makeup bag. What else is lurking in these products?
Well, some ingredients can trigger respiratory problems like asthma and allergies. Others have been linked to neurological issues like headaches, dizziness, and even cognitive decline.
Wow, so it's not just about what we're putting on our skin, it's about what we're breathing in as well.
Exactly. And then there's also the issue of skin sensitization, which can lead to allergic reactions, irritation, and even dermatitis.
Yeah, I've definitely experienced that before with certain products.
It's very common. And there was actually a study that showed incredibly high rates of hand dermatitis among nail technicians because they're constantly exposed to acrylates.
Oh, wow. That makes sense given how harsh those chemicals can be.
hmm
So are there any other dangers we should be aware of?
Well, we've covered a lot of ground already, but it's important to remember that this is just a glimpse into the complex world of cosmetics and personal care products.
Right, and we're going to keep unpacking all of this, but before we move on, are there any specific ingredients that you think we should be extra cautious about? Like the real red flags?
Yeah, definitely. There are some usual suspects that we should all be aware of. One of those is 1,4-dioxane, which is a potential carcinogen that often ends up in products as a byproduct of the manufacturing process.
Oh, wow. So it's not even intentionally added in some cases. It's just a sneaky little byproduct.
Right, and it's pretty common. There was a study that found it in almost 60% of the products they tested, including children's skincare products.
Children's skincare products.
Wow, that's really alarming.
Yeah.
Okay, so 1,4-dioxane is one to watch out for. What else should we be on the lookout for?
Acrylates, which we mentioned earlier, are especially risky for those working with nail products.
Right, yeah, we talked about the nail technicians.
Exactly. And then there's oxybenzone, which is a common ingredient in sunscreens.
Okay, so even sunscreen, which we think of as being protective, can have potentially harmful ingredients.
Right. It's a classic example of something that seems beneficial on the surface, but can have a hidden downside. Oxybenzone is effective at blocking UV rays, but it's also a known endocrine disruptor, and it can be harmful to coral reefs. It feels like we need a chemistry degree just to shop for shampoo these days.
I know it can be overwhelming, but that's why we're here, to break it all down and give you the tools you need to make informed choices.
Okay, good, because right now I'm feeling a little overwhelmed.
I understand. But don't panic yet. We'll get to the solutions. But first, we need to make sure we understand the full scope of the problem.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
So what else is out there that we should be aware of?
Well, we also need to be mindful of heavy metals, which can be absorbed through the skin and enter the bloodstream.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, it's important to be aware of. And then there's the whole issue of preservatives.
Right, preservatives are in pretty much everything.
They are, and we need them to prevent bacteria and mold growth. But some common preservatives, like parabens and methylisothiazolinone, have been linked to health problems.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of scary stuff today. It feels like every time we turn around, there's another potential health risk. But I'm assuming you're not just going to leave us hanging here. You're going to tell us how to actually decode these labels and
Well,
make safer choices, right?
Of course. That's the whole point of this deep dive.
Because right now I'm about ready to ditch my entire beauty routine and just go live in a cave somewhere.
I get it. It can be overwhelming. But the goal isn't to scare you away from all beauty products. It's to empower you to become a smarter consumer.
Okay, so knowledge is power. But what do we do with this knowledge? How do we actually make informed choices when we're bombarded with all this marketing and all these confusing ingredient lists?
That's where informed consumerism comes in. It's about taking control of your health by understanding the products you use and the potential risks they might pose. And that's exactly what we're going to help you do today.
Okay, so informed consumerism is the key.
Yeah.
I like that. And that's what we're going to be focusing on for the rest of this deep dive. So stay tuned. We'll be right back after a quick break. Okay, so we're back and ready to dive into this whole informed consumerism thing. How do we actually become these super savvy, informed consumers? Where do we even start?
Yeah, the first step is pretty straightforward. Read the labels.
Okay.
And I don't mean just glancing at them. I mean really take the time to understand what those ingredients are and what they do.
Right.
It can feel like learning a new language at first,
Yeah.
but it's a language that can have a huge impact on your health.
Easier said than done, though, right? I mean,
Yeah.
those ingredient lists can be pretty intimidating,
Oh, absolutely.
especially for someone like me who's, trying to be health conscious but doesn't have a background in chemistry.
I totally get it. It can be overwhelming. But there are some fantastic resources out there to help you decipher those labels.
Oh, good.
Like the Environmental Working Group has a database called Skin Deep, and it is a goldmine of information on the safety of cosmetic ingredients.
Skin deep. Okay, I've heard of that one. I have to check that out. What about, are there any other good resources out there?
Yeah, definitely. The European Union also has a database called COSING.
Cosing.
Okay, so between those two, you can find a ton of information.
Awesome. All right, so we've got our detective hats on. We're checking databases. We're decoding labels.
Mm-hmm.
What else should we be looking out for?
Well, here's a big one. Don't fall for the natural trap.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
Just because a product claims to be natural doesn't automatically mean it's safe.
Right.
Some natural ingredients, like certain essential oils, can actually be quite potent allergens or irritants.
Well, that makes sense.
For example, tea tree oil is often touted for its skincare benefits, but it can disrupt hormones.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
And lavender oil, as lovely as it smells, can trigger allergies in some people.
So even when we're trying to make healthier choices by going for the more natural options, we still have to be careful and do our research.
Exactly. It's not a free pass.
Right. Okay, good to know. All right, so what else should we keep in mind as we're navigating this complex world of cosmetics?
Here's another layer of complexity. Even if individual ingredients are considered safe on their own, their combination in a product can create unexpected and potentially harmful interactions.
Oh, interesting.
So this is where the concept of chemical mixtures and synergistic effects comes in.
Okay, can you break that down for us a little bit? What does that actually mean?
Sure. So basically, the whole can be greater than the sum of its parts,
Okay.
meaning that the interaction of different chemicals in a product can create new and potentially harmful effects that wouldn't be present if you were just exposed to those ingredients individually.
So it's not just about looking at each ingredient in isolation. It's about understanding how they all work together.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense. I'm starting to see how important this whole informed consumer thing really is.
It really is.
We can't just blindly trust what's on the label or what marketing campaigns are telling us.
Nope.
We have to think critically and do our own research.
Right. And the more you learn, the more empowered you'll feel to make choices that align with your values and prioritize your health.
I like that. So we've talked a lot about the risks and the things we need to be cautious about.
Mm-hmm.
But there's got to be some good news, right? Is the beauty industry making any progress in addressing these concerns?
Oh, absolutely. It's not all doom and gloom. The industry is evolving, and there are some exciting developments that are paving the way for a safer and more sustainable future.
Okay, tell me more. I need some optimism right now. What kind of changes are we seeing?
One area where we're seeing huge progress is in safety assessment techniques.
Okay.
In the past, animal testing was the standard,
Yeah,
which is both ethically problematic and not always reliable.
right.
But now we're seeing a shift towards more advanced and humane methods.
So what are some of these new methods? Fill us in.
One exciting area is in vitro testing. This involves using lab-grown cell cultures or human tissue to study the effects of chemicals.
Oh, interesting.
It's a more ethical and often more accurate way to assess potential risks.
That sounds promising. What else is on the horizon?
Three-dimensional skin models are another game changer.
3D skin models.
Yeah, these models are incredibly sophisticated and they mimic the structure and function of human skin, allowing researchers to test the effects of ingredients in a more realistic and relevant environment.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. It seems like technology is really playing a key role in driving these advancements.
It absolutely is. We're also seeing the rise of computational toxicology, which involves using computer models to predict the safety of chemicals.
Oh, wow.
It's a powerful tool that can analyze vast amounts of data and help prioritize compounds for further testing.
So we're basically harnessing the power of technology to create a safer beauty industry.
Precisely. And these advancements are not only more ethical, but they're also more efficient and effective than traditional animal testing.
It's a win-win situation.
Exactly.
Okay, so safety assessment is getting a major upgrade. What about the products themselves? Are we seeing any positive shifts there?
Definitely. Sustainability is becoming a major focus, with brands embracing green and sustainable practices in a big way.
Oh, that's great.
We're seeing a shift toward eco-friendly packaging, ethical sourcing of ingredients, and energy-efficient manufacturing processes.
So it's not just about what's in the products, but also about how they're made and packaged.
Exactly. It's about taking a more holistic approach.
I like that. So can you give us some specific examples of what these sustainable practices look like in action?
Sure. For instance, many brands are moving away from traditional plastic packaging and opting for more sustainable materials like recycled paper glass or even biodegradable options.
Yeah, I've definitely noticed that trend.
Yeah,
What about the ingredients themselves? Are we seeing any changes there?
absolutely. Ethical sourcing is becoming increasingly important, with brands prioritizing ingredients that are harvested responsibly, both in terms of environmental impact and fair labor practices.
So they're looking at the entire supply chain.
Exactly. From the farms where ingredients are grown to the factories where products are made.
It sounds like there's a real push for transparency and accountability throughout the industry.
There is. And these changes aren't happening in a vacuum. They're being driven by a growing movement of informed and empowered consumers who are demanding better from the brands they support.
This is where the power of consumer choice really comes into play, right?
Exactly. Consumers are becoming savvier than ever before. They're reading labels, doing their research, and holding brands accountable for their ingredients, their manufacturing processes, and their ethical practices. And it's working.
That's so encouraging to hear. So it sounds like the future of beauty is headed in a positive direction.
I believe it is. We're seeing a convergence of scientific advancements, sustainable practices, and informed consumerism that's creating a truly transformative shift in the industry.
And that brings us right back to the importance of informed consumerism, which is really at the heart of this entire conversation.
It is. Informed consumerism is about empowering yourself to make choices that align with your values and prioritize your health and well-being. It's about recognizing that every purchase we make is a vote for the kind of world we want to live in.
It's about taking responsibility for our own health and the health of the planet.
Precisely. And it's about recognizing that we have more power than we realize to shape the future of the beauty industry and the world around us. Every time we choose a product, we're sending a message.
That's a powerful thought. So let's bring it back down to earth for a minute. What are some practical steps that listeners can take right now to become more informed consumers in the beauty space?
One of the most important things is to read those product labels like we talked about earlier.
Right.
Don't be intimidated by the long list of ingredients. Take the time to learn what those ingredients are, what they do, and whether they pose any potential risks.
It can feel overwhelming,
Yeah.
but it sounds like it's worth the effort.
It definitely is. And remember, there are resources available to help you. Don't be afraid to use them. The EWG's Skin Deep database and the EU's Qassim database are great places to start.
Those are definitely bookmarked. Any other tips for navigating the world of cosmetics labels?
Look for certifications that align with your values.
Oh, okay.
If animal welfare is important to you, look for cruelty-free certifications. If you prioritize sustainability, seek out brands that are transparent about their sourcing and manufacturing practices. These certifications can help you quickly identify brands that share your values.
Those are great shortcuts, especially when we're bombarded with so many choices. What else can we do to make sure we're making informed decisions?
Don't be afraid to ask questions.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Reach out to brands directly and inquire about their ingredients, their sourcing practices, and their commitment to sustainability. You have a right to know what you're putting on your body.
That's a great reminder.
Mm.
We have more power than we realize to hold brands accountable.
We do. And remember, every purchase we make sends a message to the industry. When we support brands that are prioritizing safety, sustainability, and transparency, we're helping to shape a better future for the beauty industry and for ourselves.
So we're not just buying products, we're voting with our dollars.
Exactly. You have the power to create change.
So as we're wrapping up our deep dive into the world of cosmetics, I think the big takeaway here is that we can't just passively accept what the beauty industry is putting in front of us.
Yeah.
We have to be informed and engaged and willing to ask questions and demand better.
Absolutely. Informed consumerism is key.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing that we have the power to make choices that protect our health, the environment, and the values we hold dear.
And that power comes from knowledge.
Exactly.
By understanding the potential risks of certain ingredients, the importance of sustainable practices, and the advancements in safety assessments, we become empowered to make choices that align with our well-being.
It's about shifting from a mindset of blind trust to one of critical thinking and active participation, right? It's like we're taking ownership of our own health and beauty.
Exactly.
We can't just assume that everything on the shelf is safe or ethical.
Right.
We have to do our research, read labels, support brands that are doing things the right way, and speak up when we see something that doesn't sit right with us.
And remember, every purchase we make is a vote.
Oh, yeah.
We're voting for the kind of world we want to live in, a world where beauty doesn't come at the expense of our health or the health of our planet.
That's a beautiful way to put it. It's about redefining what beauty truly means, embracing a more holistic approach that values well-being on every level.
Exactly. True beauty is about feeling good both inside and out. It's about making choices that reflect our values and enhance our well-being in a way that's sustainable and ethical.
So the next time you're browsing the beauty aisle, remember what we've talked about today. Be curious, be critical, be informed. You have the power to make a difference.
And don't underestimate the ripple effect of your choices. By becoming a more conscious consumer, you're not only protecting yourself, but also inspiring others to do the same. That's a great point. So to all our listeners out there, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the fascinating world of cosmetics.
Yes, thank you.
We hope you've learned something new, and we encourage you to continue exploring this topic and share what you've learned with others.
Remember, knowledge is power. And together we can create a beauty industry that is truly beautiful in every sense of the word.
Well said. That's all the time we have for today, but be sure to check back next week for another deep dive into a new topic.